Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am absolutely thrilled today to be joined by a man who truly revolutionized how we shop. If you've ever walked into a store and enjoyed the freedom of picking up an item to look at the price tag yourself, you have this man to thank. For those who may somehow not know who you are you?
I'm Frank Winfield Woolworth, though most folks just knew me as FW. I was the fellow who decided that everything in a store should cost either 5 or 10 cents.
A true pioneer. Let's start at the beginning. When and where were you born?
I was born on April 13, 1852, on a small farm in Rodman, New York.
What was your given name at birth?
Frank Winfield Woolworth.
What was your hometown like growing up?
Rodman was a quiet, rural farming community. It was a place of early mornings and hard physical labor. My family moved to Great Bend, New York later on, but it was always that North Country farm life. It was a beautiful area, but I'll be honest with you, I wasn't exactly cut out for the plow.
What was your family life like?
My parents, John and Elizabeth, were hard-working Methodists. We didn't have much in the way of money, but we had a roof over our heads and plenty of chores to go around. They were good people who taught me the value of persistence, even if they didn't quite understand my fascination with the mercantile world.
What kind of kid were you?
I was a bit of a dreamer, I suppose. While my brother Charles was better at the farm work, I was always more interested in the local general store. I was a bit shy and lacked confidence early on, but I had a very active imagination when it came to business.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
I dreamed of being a merchant. I didn't want to be behind a horse in a field. I wanted to be behind a counter in a bustling store. I used to imagine how I would arrange the goods and talk to the customers.
What was your first job?
Aside from the farm, my first real start in the business world was as an unpaid apprentice at Augsbury and Moore's dry goods store in Watertown. I worked for free just to learn the ropes.
What's a decision that changed everything for you but felt small at the time?
It was the decision to try a 5-cent counter at Moore's store. We had a bunch of slow-moving items, and I suggested we put them all in one spot for a nickel each. It was a sensation. Watching people scramble for those nickels taught me that people love a bargain, and they love knowing the price up front.
What was your biggest break?
It was actually a failure that led to my break. My very first store in Utica failed miserably, but instead of giving up, I opened a second one in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 1879. That one took off, and that's when the 5-cent store really became a reality.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
Oh, I had plenty. I suffered from a bit of a nervous breakdown early in my career because I was so worried about failing. I wasn't naturally a great salesman at first. I was actually quite clumsy and awkward. I had to learn how to believe in myself as much as I believed in my idea.
Did you ever consider quitting?
After that first store in Utica closed, I felt pretty low. But there was a fire inside me that wouldn't let me go back to the farm. I knew the idea worked. I just had to find the right place and the right way to do it.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
I was a stickler for detail and cleanliness. I believed a store should be bright, inviting, and meticulously organized. I also made it a habit to go straight to the manufacturers to buy in bulk. Cutting out the middleman was the only way I could keep my prices at a nickel or a dime.
What was your life like before fame?
It was a life of living on the edge. I worked long hours for very little pay, often sleeping in the back of the stores or in cheap boarding houses. Every penny I made went back into the next shipment of goods.
Did fame bring happiness?
Success brought me the ability to build things, like the Woolworth building in New York, which was once the tallest in the world. That was a great source of pride. But true happiness for me was seeing the joy of a child who could walk into my store with a single coin and leave with something special.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
People thought I must be a cold, calculating tycoon. In reality, I was still that farm boy who loved music and family. I spent a fortune on a pipe organ for my home because music was my great escape.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My mother. She always believed I was meant for something more than farming. And my business partner and brother, C.S. Woolworth, who was with me through thick and thin.
What was life like in your final years?
I spent a lot of time at my estate, Winfield Hall, on Long Island. I was still very much involved in the business, which had grown to over 1,000 stores by then. I enjoyed my gardens and my music, but I never quite stopped thinking about the next big 5 and 10.
When and where did you pass away?
I passed away on April 8th, 1919, at Winfield Hall in Glen Cove, New York.
What happened?
It was a combination of things, including a bad gallbladder and a case of septic poisoning. I was nearly 67, and I think my heart was just tired from all those years of building.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I was obsessed with the color red. I insisted that all my storefronts be painted a very specific shade of bright red with gold lettering. It became our trademark.
What was your favorite food?
I enjoyed simple, well-prepared meals. I wasn't one for fancy French cuisine. A good piece of roast beef or a fresh apple pie from the country would suit me just fine.
Did you have any known rivalries?
Only with the high prices of other stores. I wanted to show the world that quality didn't have to be expensive.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Don't be afraid to start small. I built an empire on nickels and dimes. If you have an idea that serves the common person and you stick to it with everything you've got, you can reach the sky. Literally.
Frank, it has been an absolute honor to have you on the show. Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
Just that I am so glad to see that people still enjoy the thrill of a good bargain. It was a delight to tell my story again. Remember, it's the little things that add up to greatness. Thank you for having me, Calvin.
Thank you so much, Frank. From a farm in New York to the Cathedral of Commerce in Manhattan, your story is truly the American dream. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.